I have no idea what just happened.
So everybody got kicked off, basically, right?
Well, it said
But-
somebody else has. It said someone else has started a meeting with your account, and I
Right.
went into my account and it said Dana Pappas's Zoom meeting at 8 o'clock, and I'm like, who set that up? So I have no idea what just happened.
That was
Mine
weird.
says that
I
it-
wasn't the only one.
Okay,
I've
so
Mine
that
said
happened
that
to
it
all of
ended.
us then. Okay, good.
I've never seen that happen before.
Right, right.
Being hacked, you're being hacked,
I
probably.
am. It's the Russians.
It's
It's
me.
the-
It's
it's
the
the-
fact that I was doing the Zoom.
The
That's what-
Chinese.
I'm
It's
the
the
bad boy.
haircut. It's the haircut.
CNN.
I think we got Scott, you back?
Yeah, I am.
That
Okay.
was crazy.
That was
Oh.
really weird. I'm so sorry, guys. That was strange. Apparently, somebody else started a meeting with my account.
Oh, I think somebody did that the wrong way. They better not do that again.
Sure that wasn't Nate? Oh,
Dang
sorry.
it.
I'm blaming Nate. He's not
I'm
here,
blaming,
so
I'm blaming the special file.
All right, go ahead and you want to, Dana, can you mute everybody again?
I will. Scott, I am so sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. Technology's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
When it works, yes. All right, let me mute everybody again, and I'll unmute you. All right, Scott, you're back on.
I told you guys that I have a short attention span, so I don't know where I was.
We
I
were,
tried to hear you. There you are.
we were talking about just things that you see, or guys just being lazy on the field.
On film. Getting to the right spot is for me the most important thing. I don't even judge outs and safes and balls and strikes that much. I'm really looking to see if a person has the it factor. Now, getting your calls is important, don't get me wrong, but before I even worry about that part of it, I really am looking to look for the it factor. Does that person look like an umpire? So Hector, you've met this person. And we've got a couple of females on here. I'm gonna brag on her for a minute. We have an umpire who worked at an actual non-conference Division I game against a Division II school last year. Her name's Kelly Dine. She's from the Cleveland, Ohio area. Kelly Dine looks like an umpire. She just does. She gets to spots and her instincts are really strong. Now, here's my biggest issue. I want the assigners to hire her. I think she's really good. Hector, you've been at a camp with her. You've seen her work. She can flat out work. I'll put her ball strike safes outs against anybody right now that I've got in all of Division II baseball. But can't get her hired in a lot of situations. And that's not a good thing. I want that to change. So when I look at I guess we were one female that's an actual official, and Dana, you may have officiated in your time, but I am so happy you are here. I need you to understand that, because don't let them give you any crap, okay? Go work, be strong, and go lead. I tell Kelly that all the time. I mentor her personally. It's hard to insert yourself to advance her, because then she starts looking like she's the favorite daughter of me, and that looks bad for them. But and it makes it harder for her, actually. But I'm tickled to death to see you here. So thanks for being here. But things stand out, and so when the very first time I saw Kelly work a game, it was on the internet. I saw her at a camp, but when I saw her work her first game, it was on the internet. And I kept seeing it, it kept showing up. Kelly's in the right spot. Kelly's making the right call. That's huge. We see it on TV all the time, but to see it in this situation where I'm actually evaluating her while I'm watching her on the internet on a screen, it's pretty fun to watch. And so I get excited when I see people get to the right spot. I get excited when a ball is hitting the gap in right center field and an umpire comes in, cuts across the diamond and gets to third and is waiting at third base in the cutout when the slide is in there and you're getting ready to make a call. That's the difference between good and great can be as little as 15 feet. You know, you might get to see a normal C position behind the mound to make that call at third base, or you can be over in the cutout because you know this is the only place I got to be. And you can't teach instinct. You just can't. You either have instinct or you don't. And you can learn little bits of it. But the one thing, and even in my day when I was umpiring, and I was a little bigger than I am now, I've lost a lot of weight, but I was nearly 300 pounds in some of my Division I. I still could get across a diamond because I knew how to cheat. I knew what to do to get from point A to point B as fast as I could to make it appear like I had gone from point A to point B to point C, when really I was going from point A to point C. And those are just instinctual things that you learn on a baseball field that can't be taught sometimes. So when I'm watching games on the internet, I'm watching for positioning. I'm watching for the right spot. Plate work is huge for me. Balls and strikes are huge for me. I don't even worry. If I'm showing up at a baseball game, I'm coming to watch. The plate umpire better know that's who I'm there to see. I don't drive 4 hours to go watch a base job. I just don't. I drive for the plate jobs. John McSherry, God rest his soul, former big league umpire of years and years and years, was one of my mentors when I was coming up to the game. And he said, plates will get you the Cadillac, bases will get you the Chevys. And that's always stuck with me. You know, there is no replacement for a good plate umpire. There's just not. But I'm going to tell you something that I've learned now in retrospect to all of that. And I said it the other night on the Tuesday night call that I did with Brent Rice from Michigan. Learn the rule book. Take this time right now when we're not playing games to get your nose in the rule book and learn everything. Because you might not be in a 4-person crew. You might not be the number 1 or number 2 person. You might be the 3rd best umpire, ball strike stays out in that crew. But there is always, always, always a spot on a crew for somebody who knows the rules. You would be amazed. No, you wouldn't be, because you've worked with some of them. And some of you might be that person who just can't quite figure out what the rule is. The person who knows the rules wins in today's world. Trust me, there is a place for every single rules person on every single crew in the country. It has become much, much, much more important than it used to be. It used to be more about instinct. Now it's about knowing. I used to BS my way through a lot of stuff, and I could do that. You can't do that anymore. Not in today's world. You got to know. You got to know everything that's happening. You got to know how to answer. You got to know how to deal with people, and you darn well better know the rules. It's so important.
Guys, if you guys asked a question before we got cut off, go ahead and ask them again, please. Scott, so talking about rules, and you being the national coordinator, you get a copy of all the ejection reports and things like that. Can you talk about, you know, in the NCAA, we have, our protocol. We kind of have a protocol in high school with the written warning and things like that, but how important it is and communication with the coaches who might be giving you a hard time about your strike zone. That warning, how do you handle that? What advice do you have for us on that?
You have the greatest tool in the world that I hate, the restricted to the dugout thing. I personally hate that rule, but I could see where it's a great tool too. In college baseball, we use the quote official warning. This is your official warning. If you continue, I will be forced to eject you. By rule, I will be forced to eject you. That is our restriction to the dugout in college baseball. And I tell people, you can't use it enough. But here's the key. If you use it and they say something else derogatory trying to get to you, you then have to have the courage to do the right thing. Because if you don't do the right thing and unfortunately get rid of them from that contest, then your reputation is in the toilet completely. I could continue to ride this person from now till kingdom come. They'll never throw me out of a game. You do not want that. Now, I will say this to all of you. I went back through the numbers for the last 3 years. It's one of the things I've done in my downtime from not having actual games right now. And I surmised that 64% of all ejections in my leagues in Division II college baseball could have been prevented. Now, you're gonna look at me and go, you're nuts. But it's true because A, they didn't use the warning, the protocol warning to get them to be quiet. It's amazing when you give that warning, how quiet it gets, quite frankly. And then you can go back to do what you do, umpire in peace. So they won't do that. Or in my world, the umpire will throw gas on a fire and say something completely stupid and inflammatory, which will then get the player or the coach all worked up, and they'll throw, it's like jumping off the cliff. We are our own worst enemies when it comes to that. And I think if you use a little bit of thoughtfulness as you're umpiring a game and put yourself in their spot of where they're coming from. Don't let them abuse you by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want them to abuse my people. Dana does not want her people abused. She doesn't. She's going to back you. I mean, that's the one thing I will tell you about officials, coordinators at state high school. If everything is right, you write up the report correctly, you warn, you do all the things right, they will have your back, whether you believe it or not. They will always have your back. And my umpires know that. My umpires know that I am an umpire's umpire. I will always have their back as long as they follow protocol and do the right thing. But as soon as they don't, I'm also the first person to call them out on what they did and reprimand. So you got to do the right thing. You go on a field with the thought process of do the right thing, and trust me, you will be fine. You won't have an issue. I'm looking at some of the. Has there been any talk with the new 20-second rule that NCAA is without visible clocks with supplies umpires with a belt timer? I actually tested that this past fall with the football belt timer that's out there. I like it. I like the belt timer. I prefer it to be on silent. I know that we say 20 seconds, but do we start the clock at the right time every single time? Are we consistent with when we start the clock? Probably not. And if a person's at 19 and a half, 20 seconds and the motion started, are you going to be that person who's going to step in and go, oh, you're going to insert yourself into a situation that you're going to wish you hadn't? 21 and 22 is okay. Don't be that person. And I'm being very conscious about the fact because I have a female umpire here. Because my normal line is don't be that guy. Okay? Don't be that person. Don't sign up for that class. You're going to end up causing yourself more grief than it's worth. Trust me. So no, I think it's one or the other. Here's my problem with stopwatches in the 20-second rule especially in a two-person system, is it's really, really hard if you're sitting here in B and you're down on your haunches and you're having to check a stopwatch, and then all of a sudden you look up and the pitcher's made a move, or maybe we've had a balk, or maybe we've had a pickoff play, and oops, we're not ready for it. So just remember, you got a game to umpire, and for me, the clock is secondary. You have to be aware of where you're at in that situation, because I saw a couple of guys earlier this season get caught with their pants down looking at their watch instead of watching a play and miss a balk or something. And that has happened. And it's been my biggest fear in the 2-person system. In 3 and 4, you can overcome that because somebody's going to have a watch where there's not action going on. But in 2-man, it's going to happen, and you really have to be more aware of the play and not the watch as much. Does that make sense, Adam, to answer your question? Okay.
Scott, on so for us usually guys for a pregame, okay, and I mean I'm pretty sure you've been in really intensive pregames. What is a must? What's important about the pregame, and what needs to be covered with your partners before you get out on the field?
I think probably for me, the most important thing, I think what we miss in pre-games is that we don't go out and look at fields sometimes to be able to address certain sticky situations that could happen because of ground rules. I think you have to both be on the same, or the 3 of you or however many are working the game have to be on the same page of, okay, if the ball goes over here, we're going to have an issue. So how are we going to handle that? There's a standard sheet that you can go through on pregame. Hector, I think you've even got one that you go line by line. But I think the people who do the really good pregames are the ones who are preemptively looking for possibilities of what could happen, because the worst thing that could happen to you on a baseball field is not knowing, and all 3 of you going, or all 2 of you going, holy crap, what just happened? What do we do here? Where if maybe you would have just taken a couple of minutes, stepped outside the locker room, looked at the field and talked about, okay, that's going to be a problem down the right field line, or that imaginary line. You guys had that a lot in high school baseball. That imaginary line that's drawn in dead ball territory. How are we going to handle that? And those kind of things in pregame for me are the most important things to handle, is to figure out what are going to be problems and what are going to be trouble spots and address those in the locker room so that you have some semblance of order and what's going to happen, and you can adjudicate properly if it does happen when you're on a baseball field.
So, with your pregame, Scott, tell us how important, and sometimes we're in a rush. Sometimes we, get out work and we want to go home, and, we don't really want to sit and talk. But how important is the post game, after your game?
In my world, the post game is a lot. In fact, it got a guy fired from a regional because he decided that he was going to go out and do his thing and not participate in the post game. And for me, I think you got to talk about what you did. And it doesn't have to be a long time. And it can actually be while you're getting dressed and trying to leave. You can multitask that and do it. But if you're not talking about what happened during the game, and here's the other thing, and this is really important, but it's touchy. So I need you to treat this with the respect that it deserves. If you're an umpire that doesn't ask your partner for feedback about what happened with you in your game, I don't want you. You have to be able to take constructive criticism. I don't care how good you are. In fact, I'll take it another step. I was a World Series umpire, but yet if I was working with a rookie after I'd worked a plate job, I'm asking that rookie, what do you got for me? What did you see? What could I have done better? And a lot of times they want to clam up because they don't want to tell you because of where your status is and what you've worked. But I'm serious, because younger umpires may have something for you that you've never ever considered in your life. And they may not be exactly correct, but it'll at least get you in a direction of thinking about, well, maybe I can meet halfway and do something here instead of going all the way to what the rookie wants me to do. So I want different views. If you think my head height's low, I want you to tell me my head height's low. If I'm asking, but don't offer it. Here's where the respect comes in. and especially for the younger umpires. Dominic, I'll use you for an example, even though you're not really young, but you're in my world, you're kind of a younger umpire. You're not going to go into a locker room with Jeff Hendricks, who's an 8-time College World Series umpire in Omaha, and just all of a sudden spout off and say, Jeff, you really should have done this. Are you? No. No, because that's career suicide. But if Jeff asks you for your input, then be honest and give him what he's looking for. That's the case with anybody. Don't offer it unsolicited, but if you're asked, be honest. And I think some people will take it badly. Some people just want you to tell them, oh, I thought you were great back there today, Hector. You didn't miss a pitch. Well, we all know Hector. That's not ever going to be true. Hector's never gone out and gone and worked a whole game and not missed a pitch. He hasn't. None of you have. I haven't. Okay? So don't stroke me. Give me constructive feedback. And you should expect the same from whoever you're working with. I don't care of what level of experience. Ask and then listen. What you take from them may not translate for your game, but at least give them input. At least let them be a part of the process, because that's what will grow younger umpires, is allowing them to be a part of the process that a lot of umpires who are veterans will never give them. All they'll do is hold their thumb on a guy's head or a gal's head and say, this is where you are, and you shut up and you just listen to what I say. That's no way. That used to be the way, not the way anymore. Can't do it that way.
Hey, I have one more question here about mechanics, and then we'll start going to the board, Scott. So, I mean, again, you see a lot, but we kind of had a discussion last week with, Doug Eddings and Bill Miller, MLB umpires.
There were some stories told on that one, I can promise you.
Yeah. But, they brought up a good point, and maybe you can kind of, mechanically taking plays at the plate. Where's the best spot for you to take the play at the plate?
When I started, from 8 years ago, it was always first base line extended. No matter what play it was, no matter where it was, you were always, for some reason, we were on the first base line extended. I will tell you now, that is the absolute worst place to take any play. You should never, ever, ever take a play first base line extended. So I will tell you, here are my steps, okay? My steps are straight back, number one. Point of the plate, but get deeper. So like if you're standing in your spot behind the plate, I'm taking 2 full steps backward and I'm going to observe. Now, I will start to cheat based on where the ball's hit, not where the ball's thrown. For instance, if the ball's hit to right field, we all know where we're going to end up, right? We're going to end up, if the ball's in right field, we're going to end up third base line extended, because it's always going to be the best look, because 9 out of 10 plays on balls coming from right field are going to be swipe tags. And if you're going to be in the right position for a swipe tag, you must be third base line extended. And then as the throw goes up the third base line, you swing around in front of the plate and follow it as far as you can follow it to get to be able where you can see the front side on a swipe tag. So you may end up taking a play from out in front of the plate. And I'm okay with that. That's actually, on a throw up the third base line, is the best place to move, is to move into fair territory and swing around and get that play. But there are a lot of things that we do that sometimes we move too much. And quite frankly, if a ball's in left center field and I'm at the point of the plate and the catcher moves forward and then comes back, and I've tried to cheat and go to the third base side, I've already moved myself out of position. I was already in the right position in the first place. So I think you have to base it on where the ball's hit, number one, and number two, if the throw takes you to a different spot. But always everything by basics, 2 steps back and stay at the point of the plate until you can determine where you're going, because you don't have to move until you know you're going to what? Have a play. What if the throw goes to third base and you're swung around to third base? Who cares? You didn't need to go there. The play's not at the plate. The play's at third base. So don't move without purpose. Too many people move without purpose, I think, Hector, and it gets them into some trouble sometimes because they move too much instead of just letting everything come to them.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Let's see. Because of the pandemic and economic conditions, do you foresee more two-man officiating at the D2 level?
Yes. Yeah, there's already conversations about it. There's of the 23 conferences that I have across the country in Division II baseball last year, 14 of them were three-man crews. I fully expect half of those just from a financial standpoint. I mean, and again, umpires, we're our own worst enemies. So we're gonna get in the locker room. We're gonna talk about what bastards those school administrators are because they took that third person away from us. Guess what? Money's tight. Get ready for it. The money is gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight for a while. We've lost income, and if football doesn't play, in my world, it's gonna be even worse because football drives the bus for every sport out there. So sometimes we're just going to have to go back to the basics and say, okay, you know what? For a year or two, we may have to go back to two-man crews. That's going to happen at my level. I can tell you already. I know of two conferences that planned on going to three-man that have already called me and said we're going to put it on hold for a year. And I know of 3 other conferences that were already three-man that are talking to me about transitioning back to 2. So it's going to be a real deal. It's going to happen. I don't think the RMAC in your area is probably looking at doing that. I think really that Chris is pretty stable and strong, and I think he's planning on staying with three-man. But I will tell you, I think the Mountain West will leave 4. I think the Mountain West will go back to 3, and I think you'll see it more at the Division I level with the Power 5s that are all 4-man. I think you'll see a lot of them come back to 3, and that's great for me because it's going to make more openings at those guys leaving Division I, the really good, strong Division II umpires who are probably a 4-person on a 4-man crew are going to come back and work a lot of 2-man and some 3-man at the Division II level, which will increase my pool for postseason umpires. So I win on that deal, but we as umpires don't win on that deal. If it makes sense. I feel bad, but I think in these times with what's going on economically I'm sure Dana, you could speak to that. I mean, it's going to happen. There are going to be cutbacks. There's no way to avoid it. There's no way to avoid it at my level. If it's happened at my level, it's going to certainly happen at the high school level. So get ready for it, suck it up, and be ready to work a little harder for a couple of years until they can get it back to where they wanted it to be in the first place.
A couple more questions, Scott. Let's see if somebody else posts the question, but can you talk a little bit about Get Healthy with Scott and how that's going as a group, why you did it? I know you played a big role in my life. When I first got into the college scene and losing weight and stuff, but like that. But talk a little bit about why it's important, Scott.
Well, first of all, I'm going to answer this other question from Adam about what about game pay. I don't see game pay going down per game fee. I just think that we'll use one less person in some situations. I don't see game fees being reduced. And if they are, I think it'll be a really minimal deduction. But I think that at my level, I think that we'll see the same fees. I just think we may not have three-man in some situations. It'll be the same pay for two. That's my honest opinion on that. The Get Healthy with Scott thing, honestly, that's not something I was really wanting or prepared to talk about here. Hector, you and I have the same story. You came to me 4 or 5 years ago and said, and I've seen your fat pictures, and I have my fat pictures out there too. I was 300 pounds when I was 52 years old. And I just think that health and wellness has become a very important factor in officiating. There are a lot of fat people that can umpire. I was one. I could umpire fat. It wasn't that, but it cost me a lot of assignments because I was fat, if that makes sense. An officials coordinator looked at me and they'd say, oh, well, he's too fat, he'll never get from point A to point B. And even if you got there, they still, the preconceived notion, first impressions are everything. You understand that. I judge umpires from the second they walk through the chain link fence gate and walk to the plate. Do you walk with a purpose? Do you stop and chat and shake hands and hug the coaches and kids on the way by the dugout? I judge you when you walk on the field. And so I was being judged. Hector, you were being judged as a fat guy. I mean, I get it. So I made the conscious decision about 8 years ago that I needed to do something about it, and I lost 101 pounds. You lost triple-digit numbers, Hector, in your weight loss journey. And I just think for me, that's more of a labor of love. I don't make any money off of that. It's just a thing I have on Facebook, and we put out recipes of healthy food and workout tips and all sorts of things like that. It's more, that's a support group for people because it's really hard to do on your own. It's really hard to get healthy on your own. It's really easy to go pick up that Twinkie. It's really easy to go pick up that bag of chips and eat them all. It's really easy to maybe not have 1 or 2 beers after the game. It might have 6 or 7. And for me, it's all about sugar. Mine is sugar. Sugar's the enemy. And so whether y'all think that beer tastes sweet or not, there's a boatload of sugar in beer. So understand that. Those are all things that I have learned in the last 8 years. And anybody's welcome to join that Facebook group. It's Get Healthy with Scott is what it's called. And we just put out tips and we provide positive messaging and get people involved. And hopefully whether it's 5 or 10 pounds they want to lose, maybe they just want to change the way they eat. Maybe they want to find an exercise program that works for them. Maybe they were a fat butt like me and need to lose a lot of weight. Different strokes for different folks, and we got all sorts of people in there. But it's important to me because of how I was perceived as an official later in my career, and how important it became. You don't see many fat guys getting postseason assignments. They're the ones that run up and down the court in basketball, or can run 40 yards down the field when a little 5'8", 185-pound running back is blowing by you, getting through the line of scrimmage. And are you trailing that play, or are you staying ahead of him? All of those things factor in, and it factors into the game evaluation. So for me, it was literally about wanting to be in the best shape I could possibly be in. And so that's why we started that. And congratulations on yours, Hector, because you've done a great job of not only losing it, but keeping it off. You've done a terrific job.
And I'll share that. I mean, I love it because everybody kind of supports each other, and there's umpires from all over the nation. So it's great just to, another place to meet other people. Scott, you've been around baseball. We always kind of ask this last question, but tell us about, your best, memory moment on a baseball field so far in your umpire career.
Oh, I've got a lot. I've been really blessed. I've been lucky because I've been put in a lot of situations to succeed and have good memories. One that comes to mind really quickly, and there's pictures of it out there on Facebook somewhere, and Hector, you saw it the other day. We dressed up in an old timers game. It was Indiana versus Purdue. And the teams wore throwback uniforms, and the umpires, we dressed in black suits with the long skinny tie and the engineer looking hat. And I worked the plate, and I had a outside chest protector, the balloon. That was the most fun I had in my life. The funnier part about that story is on a midweek game on Wednesday before that Friday game, I actually worked a Division III game in Indiana with that outside protector because I felt like I needed to practice with it before I went into a Division I game and messed something up. So that was one of my great late memories. Going to my first Division II World Series in Montgomery, Alabama. Ranks up there pretty high. Working in pro ball has always been it was a goal. So going to Billings, Montana, working in front of 7,000 people on an opening night in a Pioneer Rookie League, and having my grandmother in the stands was pretty cool. My folks, neither one of them could come, but my grandmother came from Kansas City to Billings, Montana to watch me work my first professional game. And my grandmother was my heart. I mean, she was everything to me. So having her there, I'll cry. I will. It was that kind of a moment. Crazy story. Also happened in Billings, Montana in my rookie year. And I was working first base, and it was midseason in the old ballpark. This is where they used to play the American Legion National Championships, in this old ballpark in Billings, Montana. It's called Cobb Field, and it's a rookie team for the Reds in Billings, and they've been there forever. And they were old wooden stands, and I'm on the bases. Well, they had the home run beer inning in Cobb Field every home game. Free beer for the rest of the half inning if a Billings player in the bottom of the fifth hit a home run. And it happened in one of my games. And so now we went from 5,000 in the stands it was like cattle. It was like, you heard this, and all of a sudden there's like 100 people in the stands, and they're all out getting free beer. And in the 8th inning, I ejected 4 fans from a box seat about 25 feet away from me, who were so drunk by this point in time that they took a stack of cups, and the trainer counted them. There were 28 beer cups stacked inside of each other, and the top one was half full, and they took these beer cups and they threw them at me, and it landed at my feet, splashed beer up on me, and I ejected a box of 4 people because I knew where it came from. I just didn't know which one threw it, so I got them all. Those were my first ejections in professional baseball. Those were 4 fans. I didn't have any player or coach ejections that year, just 4 fans. That was it. So I tell that story quite a bit. You never know where it's coming from.
Somebody's just texting me a question. They want me to ask you, talking about technology and how everybody and their grandma has camera now, and you're going to end up on film somewhere. Can you talk about how important it is on your behavior on the field and off the field?
Okay, it's everything about behavior. But here's where I think we get sideways with video. And I want everybody to take this with a grain of salt, but I really, truly believe it. It's okay to go back and watch video of something if you've got a question about something you did on a field. But once you've done it and once you've analyzed it, throw it away. Nothing that you can do to go beat yourself up after you've seen it on video is going to change what happened. I think we overanalyze those type of things. I've got video available to me at my World Series every year that I could take video clips from the broadcast and take that and show it to my umpires. I choose not to because it's not going to change anything. Now we do have video review, and there's some video review that can change some things, but there's no sense in going back and rehashing a bunch of stuff that happened in a game yesterday. Nothing's going to change today. You're still going to approach the game the way you're going to approach the game. It'll muddy up your head, and it'll make you think too much about what's happening that day when you're thinking about what happened yesterday. So don't get all caught up in that part of it. But I think that video is a good tool used correctly. It's changed the game. I mean, how many arguments do you see at the big league level now? Manager just gets in there and looks and waits for somebody to tell him, yeah, challenge that play. So it's taken all of the controversy out of Major League Baseball, which is a good thing. It's starting to take the controversy out of college baseball. And as we expand video in college baseball, I think it will start to work more like it has with Major League Baseball. But it's everything with demeanor, because the last thing you want is a parent taking a video of you over at the fence smoking a cigarette between innings. You don't want video of you being the guy who took your mask off and took steps halfway over to the dugout to admonish a coach for giving you crap. Handle that from home plate. Don't put yourself in a situation to be the aggressor, because eventually it comes out on video that you were the aggressor and it makes you look bad. So I think it's important just from the demeanor standpoint. I use video a lot. I get video back on plays. I've had ejections. I've had umpires claim they get bumped in an ejection, and then I get video and they're nowhere near them. So you better tell the truth in an ejection report, because I'm going to probably get video of it. So video works both ways. So you have to be careful. Dominic asks, is in your opinion, is it best to have one or multiple mentors? And when an umpire is looking for a mentor, what qualities should he look for? Multiple's fine. I tell you, choose wisely. Choose your mentor wisely. Choose a good person, first of all. Don't choose the great umpire who's a jackass, because the jackass probably isn't going to give you anything you're going to be able to take with you. He's probably going to do everything they can to keep you from taking his spot, quite frankly. So you have to choose your mentor wisely. Multiple's fine, because I think that different opinions from different things. I mean, there'll be things that I've done on baseball fields, and I'll call 4 or 5 guys that I trusted and that mentored me, that I will say and just give them the scenario, and then let them explain it to you what they would have done. Don't try to interact. Don't try to interject yourself into the conversation. Give them the play, shut up, and let them tell you. And you'll be surprised what you get back, and there'll be differing points. And then you could take the point that makes most sense to you and use that. What's the most important in developing and maintaining a consistent strike zone? From Jeff Varela. Jeff, I will tell you this. Be in the same spot consistently all the time. And that sounds simplistic, but it's very, very, very hard to do. And I'll challenge you to do this when you go watch somebody work a game. Watch their foot position when they're working right-handed batter versus left-handed batter. Chances are, if you are a right-handed person, when a right-handed batter is up, your left foot is up in the slot really well, and you're looking out over the shoulder of the catcher. But when a left-handed batter is up, your feet are flat, so therefore you're looking through the catcher's head to see the outside corner. Just a little small adjustment like that, of being able to have your feet consistently in the right spot, up in the slot every single time, will make a difference in your game, balls and strikes. I think it's really, really important to understand where your positioning is, and then keep that and keep your head height consistent at all times. And those are little things that you can just take for yourself, and just take an extra 1 second to make sure your feet, look down and make sure your feet are in the right spot. If you start missing outside corner pitches, look at your feet. I'll bet you 9 out of 10 times your feet are flat instead of offset with your foot up in the slot. If you're looking through a catcher's head, it's because you're too far back. There's your plate work tip of the day. We're getting many updates on ejection rates, especially in D2, D3. You mentioned earlier 65% can be avoided. Short keys on how to lessen the ejection you're seeing. Be more tolerant. Just because they challenge you and they're challenging you, don't take it personally. Don't look at it like you're challenging my authority and I must lord down upon you. Take what they're saying. First of all, you have to eliminate the screaming part. Coaches come out very emotional. And the first thing that I will do when I have a situation like that, as I was a coach, I am going to talk to you, but I am not going to yell with you. So if you continue to yell, the conversation is over. And if you continue to yell past that, then by rule, I am now giving you your warning and I will be forced to eject you by rule. if the quicker you can get a coach into a conversation instead of a screaming match, you win. Because you diffuse the situation. And if you could just do that, I promise you ejection rates go down. Just get them into a conversation, period. And you win. That's the last question I see on the screen here, Hector, so. And you're muted, so I can't hear you.
There we go. Nope, thanks for, any departing words for us, words of encouragement that you want to share with us?
Thanks for what you do. You're a very important part of the process. I know without knowing Dana that she appreciates everything that you do because you're giving up time away from your family for very little money, and you're being a part of something that's bigger than you. For me, that earns my respect no matter what. I have a lot of people that friend me on Facebook. I have earthly no idea who they are. But I constantly get barraged with questions in my Facebook Messenger, and I don't care. I take the time to answer every single one of them, because if it's important enough for you to add me as a friend and ask me the question, it's important enough for me to answer. And if I can do any little part to make you all better as umpires and be in Indianapolis, Indiana to do it while y'all are in New Mexico, then, you know, I'm doing what my purpose is to do. The funny thing about Hector, and I didn't even know this, I'll tell this story real quick before I go. My uncle, my dad's brother, was a high school administrator, high school principal in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My cousin, his daughter, teaches at the school Hector teaches at or taught at. Are you all still at the same school? I don't even know. But yeah, she's an athletic director. She's an athletic director, isn't she?
Yeah.
What school is she at?
I think she's at Washington Middle School now.
Yeah, she's an athletic director in a middle school. And my other cousin is a English teacher at a high school. I think she's at Manzano, actually, I think is where she is. So I have history in Albuquerque with my family. So when I was growing up, my grandparents lived there. My uncle and his family lived there. I used to go to Albuquerque a lot. So Hector was amazed that I knew as much about Albuquerque as I knew. But last time I was there, before the last time, they didn't have casinos in Albuquerque. But obviously there's a lot of casinos going around in New Mexico now. But yeah, I love the area. I love Albuquerque. It's a great city. Loved it to death. So,
well, Scott, thank you for taking the time tonight to joining us and making us a better umpires, brother. Dana, you have anything for him?
Scott, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you saying at some point you'd like to just have a talk with me, because I'd love to talk to you, and hopefully we're having a mentoring webinar next month, and I'd love to have you be a part of that. We're looking for people to talk about the subject of importance of mentors and being a good mentor and what to look for if you're looking for a mentor. So if I could get you involved in that, that would be outstanding.
I'm in.
Thank you so much.
Don't just say when. And
thank you.
I travel around a lot. I mean, I go and talk to the high school associations, and I talk to a lot of different sports, not just baseball, because I think a lot of the things that I talk about translates to all sports.
Absolutely.
So
and I do appreciate you taking time out of your Thursday night to be with us. I know it's closer to 11 there than it is to 9 as it is for us, but we really appreciate it, and appreciate your wisdom and your guidance. I know everybody got a lot out of it, and we really do thank you. And as a high school administrator, I appreciate everything that you do.
Wow, I appreciate being asked. I love doing it, so I appreciate being asked. And Hector, thanks for reaching out and doing that. And Dana, thanks for having me. And you guys, thank you all for what you do. Continue to work hard. Reach out if you have any questions or you need some advice. I am here. Hector can give you contact information for me. I'm all in to help do whatever I can to make you guys better. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Awesome, Scott. Thank you, brother.
Okay, guys.
We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right.
Guys, thank you for being on again. Enjoy your long weekend, I guess I should say. Have a good Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you next Thursday night. I'll have Dana send out the details. We kind of have something special for next Thursday night that you guys will enjoy.
Now I'm excited. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for one more confirmation, but we'll have a group of guys with us.
Nice.
But thank you guys so much. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
Heck, did you
Thanks,
lose
Hector.
a bet to the kids?
Did I lose a bet to the kids
Yeah,
because of my hair? Or what?
because of your head. Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened there.
You know what? You guys will see it, but I'm working with my kids on. Oh, that's my wife there. I'm working with my kids on a social media. You guys know TikTok, right?
Yes.
So we're my kids, Santi, my 10-year-old, and Raiden 7, but we're gonna do a little video experiment. So I needed to cut my hair, and I am gonna shave before baseball comes back because it's part of the video. But it is an officiating video, so I think you guys will enjoy it. Hopefully, we'll release it early next week. But it was their idea, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, he did say experiment. I heard it.
Yeah.
Cool, dude.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for spending your evening with us.
All right, guys.
See you guys soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.